Welcome to Storing Sports Injury Experiences in VR. When an athlete is injured, it can be psychologically devastating. The stories they tell about their injury experiences will shape how they think, feel, and behave in relation to their injury experiences, and ultimately the trajectory of their careers. Recent sports psychology research explored athletes' injury stories across their careers and identified 6 narrative types that underpin the athlete's stories. These narratives enable athletes to make sense of their injury experiences and reframe them if needed, thus enhancing their recovery. We will spotlight the merry-go-round narrative, a cyclical plot of highs and lows where chronic and recurring injuries impact athletes' well-being and sporting careers. You may have noticed that you can use your hands in this experience. Take a look at your hands and move them around. Great, now let's try using them. During the experience, you will be presented with virtual objects, like this one. When they appear, pick them up and take a closer look at them. To pick up an object, reach out and pinch your thumb and fingers together. Keep gripping it to move it around. Great work. Now bring it closer to you to hear the object. We are ready to experience the merry-go-round. The merry-go-round narrative depicts a cyclical plot of highs and lows where chronic and recurring injuries impact athletes' well-being and sporting careers. The merry-go-round narrative has different phases, as athletes' stories started with what could be, shifts to what should be, and ends reflecting on what could have been.
It was just that constant cycle. Get injured, do your rehab, work back to the track, and it could be a few weeks or a few months and you would be right back at the beginning again. Every time I had to pick myself up and go back through that cycle again, and every time it was just chipping away at my motivation and my love for the sport.
Initially, injury setbacks were countered by brief moments of hope, inspiring athletes to envision what could be. However, if they remain trapped in the injury rehabilitation cycle, they began making comparisons to other athletes.
If you look at our training, we did everything similar up until that point. But her star kept rising while mine was crumbling. Every time I would see a result from her, I was like, that should be me, that's where I should be at.
Attempting to prove where they should be, athletes can become consumed by performance objectives, cheating and rushing rehab to pursue a sporting goal.
Just before the race, it flared up again, but I wasn't ready. All year I was rushing to try and get back. I was panicking and I kept cheating the rehab, which is so easy to do when you have a goal in mind.
These cycles of injury and re-injury lead to athletes experiencing a disconnect from their bodies, a growing anxiety over never being able to predict or control what their bodies were going to do, leaving them feeling trapped in a body they no longer recognise.
It's a strange feeling because I never had to think about my body before. But then it was like I didn't trust my body. Because I didn't know, like, am I going to get through this training session? Or will I be going home with a bag of ice? I felt like I no longer controlled my body, it controlled me.
At this point, some athletes begin to distance themselves from their bodies. Others resign themselves to a body where injury is the norm. Let down and feeling powerless, athletes withdraw their engagement in rehab and other health-related behaviours.
I mean, I feel like I've tried everything to strengthen it. But it seems no matter what I did, I was still in pain. So eventually I just began to run through it.
Eventually, the cumulative impact of these repetitive cycles wears down athletes' motivation and commitment to their sport. Compounded by a lack of empathy and understanding from others, athletes experience feelings of low self-worth and isolation, and begin questioning their sense of purpose within the sport.
I remember being on a training session and I was just like, what am I doing in my life? Like, what is the point of this? I'm losing money, I've had my funding cut, I've had my contract cut 2 years in a row. All these negative thoughts. And I just stopped and burst into tears in the middle of the session. And it was a mental breakdown. I'm telling you now because I couldn't control it. I knew my mind had gone. I was exhausted physically, I was malnourished, mentally I was ill. I was just done. And it wasn't the emotion of one bad session. It was those 3 years of injury frustration just pouring out of me.
Unable to see a viable future in this sport, athletes become nostalgic about their past and what could have been. Feeling robbed and cheated of their sporting careers, the merry-go-round storyline confines athletes to the actions of their past, and so they may be left constantly pondering about what could have been.
It will always be that thing of what could have been. If it weren't for those injuries, where would I be now? And I think I'll always think that, even when I'm 50.